Vietnam War True Stories, Chaplain Charles Watters on Hill 875. In November 1967, the fighting near Dak To reached one of its most brutal moments on a jungle-covered mountain known as Hill 875. The hill stood in South Vietnam's central highlands, near the Cambodian border. Beneath the thick canopy, North Vietnamese troops had built a strong defensive position with bunkers, trenches, and concealed firing points. From above, the hill looked like another patch of jungle. From below, it became a fortress. On November 19th, paratroopers of the 173rd Airborne Brigade began moving up the slope. Among them was Chaplain Major Charles Joseph Watters. Watters was a Catholic priest from New Jersey who had volunteered to serve in Vietnam. He was not there to command soldiers or carry a rifle. His mission was to stay near the men, comfort the wounded, pray with the dying, and bring courage where fear and chaos threatened to take over. As the paratroopers climbed Hill 875, North Vietnamese troops opened fire from hidden bunkers. Machine guns, rifles, grenades, and mortars tore into the advancing Americans. The steep terrain, thick jungle, and enemy positions above them made movement almost impossible. Soon, many paratroopers were wounded and pinned down on the exposed hillside. Chaplain Watters moved toward them. Again and again, he crossed open ground under enemy fire to reach wounded soldiers. He helped carry men to safer positions, gave aid where he could, and offered spiritual comfort to those who knew they might not survive. Men who saw him remembered that he seemed almost impossible to stop. When others were forced to take cover, Watters kept moving. He went from soldier to soldier, sometimes crawling, sometimes running, sometimes lifting wounded men and dragging them away from danger. He did not ask whether the ground was safe. He went because someone needed him. At one point, he helped move wounded paratroopers into what appeared to be a more protected area near the battalion command post. The Americans were still trapped, still taking fire, and still waiting for relief. Then disaster struck. An American aircraft, called in to strike enemy positions, accidentally dropped a bomb inside the U.S. perimeter. The explosion ripped through the area where many wounded men had been gathered. Chaplain Charles Watters was killed in the blast. So were many of the soldiers he had been trying to protect. The friendly fire incident became one of the most painful moments of the Battle of Hill 875. The paratroopers had already been suffering heavy casualties from a determined enemy. Now they were hit by one of their own bombs in the middle of the fight. Yet the story of Chaplain Watters did not end with that tragedy. The men who survived remembered what he had done before the explosion. They remembered a chaplain who refused to stay behind cover while others were bleeding. They remembered a man who placed his own life behind the lives of the soldiers around him. For his actions on Hill 875, Chaplain Charles Watters was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. His citation recognized his extraordinary bravery, his repeated movement through intense fire, and his efforts to rescue and comfort wounded paratroopers at the risk of his own life. Hill 875 became one of the bloodiest battles of the Dak To campaign. The 173rd Airborne suffered devastating losses, and the fight left a deep mark on the men who were there. But amid the violence, confusion, and tragedy, Chaplain Watters' action stood out. He carried no weapon. He led no assault. But he walked into danger again and again because wounded men were calling for help. His story is remembered not only as an act of courage, but as an example of devotion under fire. On Hill 875, Chaplain Charles Watters showed that bravery could come without a rifle in hand. Sometimes courage looked like a priest crossing a battlefield to reach one more wounded soldier. If you have any photos, videos, or stories to share, please send us a message. And to all veterans, thank you for your service.